Welcome to Veroscope, where we're going to be going through the Jenn Soto derivative use immunity interview. It's going to be a multi-parter because there's a lot to go through, and we finally got here after a number of requests, so apologies for the delay, but we're here now. So we might as well crack on with the interview and get started.
Good morning. We are at the State Attorney's Office in Kissimmee. It's 8:57 a.m. It is April 18th, 2024. I am William J. I am the Division Chief for the Homicide Unit. With me is Danielle Pinnell, also from the Homicide Unit in Kissimmee. Can the detectives identify themselves?
Detective Mark Morris.
Detective Kyle Smallwood. And with us is
Jennifer Soto.
with your attorney,
Matthew Barker.
All right. We went over some things before we went on the record and told you the opportunity to ask any questions that you needed to ask. If you need a break to consult with your attorney, that is absolutely fine. We'll all step out of the room, turn off the recorders, and let you exercise your constitutional right to have counsel. There's no problem with that. There's water fountains here. There's restrooms. I don't know if you're a smoker or not, but if you get desperate, we can make an outside break time, but we are kind of under time constraints. With that all said, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the yes answer to that question says to me that she's not fully psychologically committed to swearing to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
All right, this is an investigative subpoena, so you've been compelled to be here. And in our country, under the 5th Amendment and 14th Amendment is applied to you under the Florida Constitution as well, you cannot be forced to incriminate yourself. So anything you say today can't and won't be used against you unless you just don't tell us the truth. And I've already explained to your attorney, Mr. Bark, whether or not you've made any inconsistent statements in the past, that is dirt under the bridge, and either a misdemeanor was committed or it wasn't, but we're not going to be using that as a basis of some sort of perjury by false statements, because those other charges wouldn't be perjury anyways. So the most important thing today is to tell the truth. I also explained derivative use immunity, which means if you said that there was a gun, and obviously there's no gun in this case, buried in your attorney's yard, we couldn't go dig up that gun if he told us that, oh yeah, the gun that was used is right there. We wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to show that we learned all those things independently from this interview. Okay? Do you have any questions? All right, so let's get started.
Okay, so we're going to get started with William J. about to ask his first question, my understanding. So that's where we are.
Before you start, let me just make sure we're clear on the record. Off the record, we had discussed our position
This is her attorney speaking, just before we start.
on the concerns we have. Ms. Soto was interrogated by law enforcement previously. She was under a tremendous amount of duress and stress, being that her child was missing and then she was informed was found deceased. There's been media hysteria about this. There's been people asking for her to be prosecuted, tarred, feathered, executed. And so with that said, we have the concern that you brought up about if there's something said inconsistent today, not being used against her for filing a false police report.
All right, so for example, if she said something that was false then, and we have no idea that it was false now before this interview, but she comes in and admits that it was false today, we can't use these statements or that admission that it was false against her, just like we couldn't use anything else against her from this interview. Okay. All right.
Okay, so the attorney was just clearing up there that anything that she says, even if she admits it point blank, it cannot be used against her in this interview. However, if the detectives discover facts or evidence outside of what they learn inside the interview, then Jenn Soto can still be prosecuted.
My understanding is that on February 25th of this year, you were working at the hotel on Disney property out at Coronado Springs.
Yes.
Okay, so it's important in statement analysis and forensic linguistics to establish a baseline. So here we have an immediate single answer, although quiet, that has connotations. And we're starting to establish her baseline as to how she's going to act in this interview.
Loud and loud to get caught on the floor. I know you're sick. I know.
Yes.
All right. And did you get off at 10 p.m.?
Yes.
All right. Did you go directly home?
Yes.
About how long does it take you to get home?
About 25 to 30 minutes.
Okay, so far we have a fairly truthful baseline and about 25 to 30 minutes. We mark time, temporal incunas in dark green. And this is about right to take into account normal traffic.
And when you get home, who is downstairs, if anybody? You have a 2-story, is it a townhome? Is that the best word for it?
Yes.
If anybody is downstairs, who is downstairs?
I saw my daughter Madeline and Stefan.
Do you recall what Madeline was wearing?
No.
Okay, so immediately we have deception. We also have extreme sensitivity. What Madeline was wearing that evening is extremely sensitive to Jennifer. You heard the delay, you almost heard the mechanical thinking. And I suspect, although we weren't in the room, discussions and looking at her attorney. So huge deception immediately. It's a very simple question, and her memory should be good enough under such trauma to know what she was wearing on her birthday and to know what she was wearing at the time that she arrived home on her birthday. But she says no.
And do you recall what Stefan was wearing?
Okay, so again, the long pause and the I don't know. So she doesn't know what her daughter was wearing on the night that she was murdered, and she doesn't know what the murderer was wearing, and yet she's with them. And this isn't very long ago. So we have deception from the off.
When you get home from work, you need to kind of eat a late dinner before you get settled in for bed?
Yes.
And do you eat there at your home?
Yes.
Okay, simple question, baseline, truth, yes. So she can tell the truth.
What do you eat?
I think I had a pub sub waiting for me in the house, sandwich.
Okay. Did anybody join you in sitting down and eating?
No, I ate in my bedroom.
Okay, so that's interesting. So she's claiming to isolate herself to eat in her bedroom after missing her daughter's birthday party, having got home to see her daughter, and is now claiming to isolate and eat by herself. Apologies for the incorrect transcription. This A sandwich should be up there.
Okay. Did it look like anybody else had recently cooked food or eaten any food there that night?
What I saw, no. I didn't see anyone cooking or.
Okay, and again we have a slight transcription error. So by now you should have recognized the deception markers, the stuttering as she begins, the I isn't happy with what she's about to say, self-censors, begins another deceptive marker, a fractured sentence.
It don't look like anyone cooking.
Okay. I believe in one of your former interviews you mentioned that Madeline might have gone over with you kind of what she got at the birthday party since you didn't have the chance to go because you were at work. Mm-hmm. When and where does that occur?
That occurs right after I get home. It occurs in my bedroom. Everyone's in my room.
And so by everyone, let's just be clear since I understand you have some roommates. So what do you mean by everyone?
Madeline, Stephen, and myself were in my bedroom.
Okay. At this point in time, do you recall what Madeline was wearing?
I don't know.
Let me ask it a different way. Can you tell me whether or not she was wearing a long sleeve green sweatshirt and jeans?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Okay, so isn't that interesting? Her memory is very clear that she cannot remember what the murderer was wearing or what her daughter was wearing. But asked specifically about was she wearing long sleeve green sweatshirt and jeans, oh no. So her memory is selective.
Would she have kind of been in her bed gear, or do you think she could have still been in the dress that she wore to her birthday celebration?
She would have been in pajamas. I can't recall the exact pajamas.
She would have been. That's an interesting phrase that we look at in statement analysis. She would have been. But I can't recall the exact pajamas. But she would have been in pajamas. So here, do you see, for those who have watched the first 6 videos, you should start to see the fractures and the sensitivity. So here are the clues: pajamas, 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 can't recall. The clothes are sensitive. Something about the clothes happened that night. As we go on with the analysis, hopefully we'll be able to discover what that is.
So she would have been in pajamas. She had already, by this point in the evening, she had already showered and changed out of that birthday dress.
And was it your understanding from your sister that she had gotten dropped off about 8:30, she being Madeline?
8:30, 8:45, something around that time, yeah.
And what's your understanding as to when Stefan had gotten there? If you know, if you don't.
Apologies for the transcription errors and the assignments for William J versus Jennifer, but we can work it out.
Don't guess, it's fine.
Actually, while he's saying that, this is important. So there's things that you might think should be a certain way, because that's just the way things go. But don't just guess based on past history that it's the same as what happened on that particular day. If you don't know, you don't know.
Then, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what time.
Then, yes, I'm not sure exactly what time. After her attorney helped her with the timeline problem. Let's have a little look at Berescope's point of view on all of this so far. So, the clothing interrogation, the impossibility cascade. Detective, at this point in time, do you recall, and again, excuse the translation, the transcription rather, do you recall what Madeline was wearing? I don't know. Pronoun stuttering under stress. Excuse me, I am in the wrong part of Berescope. So here's the transcript, or part of the transcript, because it's going to be a multi-part. So baseline establishment. Yes, do you remember her responding to the oath was with the single yes, a real lack of commitment. So our timeline is okay, and we're getting the usual yeses. However, these single word responses show what I would call a cross-armed response, resentful. And as Berescope says, it's an unusual pattern for cooperation. About 20 to 25 minutes, yeah, that seems the normal sort of time for traffic variation. And when you get home, who is downstairs, if anybody? You have a 2-story townhouse. Is that the best word for it? Yeah, it's a townhome. Okay, so that's all fine. I saw my daughter. So she's creating distance between herself and Madeline still. It's unusual linguistics, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. So yes, no memory search or attempt. So this is a good point for a small lesson. If somebody is asked a question and they say, "I don't remember," that's different than "I can't remember." And although it's only it's only leaning towards percentage-wise a fact, it's not it's not always the case. But if somebody says, "I can't remember," generally speaking, they're searching for the memory and they genuinely can't remember or they can't recall. If they say, "I don't remember," more times than the person who says, "I can't recall" or "I can't remember," "I don't" is not choosing to even attempt to recall. This isn't always the case, and I haven't explained it very well, but essentially look out for "I don't remember" because it's not as genuine as "I can't remember." And very often in deception, we will see "I don't remember." Very rarely will we see "I can't remember" in deception. Strange, isn't it? Let's go back to the transcript and the audio.
You got there.
Okay. You were at work, so I just didn't know if, like, sometimes families check in, "Hey, I made it," by text or by phone call or anything like that. Do you not remember any of that?
I don't remember.
Okay. How long were the three of you in your bedroom?
I'm gonna say for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is concerning. Again, she's going, "I'm going to say." So we rarely see this linguistic phrase in truthful statements. There's always an element of deception there. "I'm going to say," or "I would say." It's slightly deceptive. There's always an element of deceptive. And here we have some hedging. So she's beginning to show us where she's sensitive. She's sensitive about the time, or for how long the three of them were there, and she's sensitive about the clothes.
And did Madeline tell you about the party?
She was really happy.
Did she tell you what food they had?
Did you hear that? And did Madeline tell you about the party? Really happy. This is a refusal to get involved in the conversations that occurred. So we're beginning to build a picture. If she's refusing to tell us about the conversation, then we have to ask ourselves, was there a conversation? Had Madeline already passed away by the time she got back? Or is the conversation/argument so bad that she's just not prepared to enter into any dialogue or discourse of that evening with her daughter Madeline? Really happy. Deceptive, huge deceptive marker.
Had there at the party?
Yeah, they had her favorites.
What are her favorites?
Puerto Rican food. So arroz con gandules.
All right, so you're gonna have to translate to English. I know frijoles and arroz and a couple other things, but help me out.
If I recall correctly, she had requested rice. It's a type of rice and beans.
See, this is interesting. This is slightly deeper level of analysis, but by now you should be getting the simple stuff. So if I recall correctly, which in a deep sense means that she is deliberately not recalling other stuff correctly.
It's rice with pigeon peas.
Okay.
And benid, which is, I'm not sure how that is. It's a pork, but I'm not sure how they cook it.
Okay.
So cooked pork. That's typically what she requests for her parties. That's like her favorite meal.
Okay. And what kind of gifts did she get?
She got a lot of money.
Notice, we can't see her unfortunately, but did you pick up the tonality of that? She got a lot of money is important to Jennifer. And I wonder if there's some sort of leakage there. She got a lot of money. I wonder if an argument over this money occurred.
Okay.
That's what she ended up showing me. I think she had a few trinkets, but like most of it was just a big wad of money that she was so excited for.
All right. Is there any particular reason?
It was just a big wad of money that I do notice that unless Soto is almost forced to use her daughter's name, she still refuses. The money is something to do with it, in my opinion.
And Stefan couldn't make it up to the party because it's my understanding he didn't exactly work or anything.
He wouldn't have been invited. The party was held at my mom's house, and my mom and him have never had a great relationship. She's never liked him. So he wouldn't have been invited to the party at all. It just would have been my whole family, and then me. If I hadn't worked, I would have been there.
Okay. Now, during this 30 minutes that the three of you are in your bedroom, is Madeline engaging in any of her kind of nighttime routine or, getting ready for bed? What else is going on, if anything?
Okay, so there's sensitivity here. She's thinking. She's planning.
We spent a long time talking about gifts and having her show me, and then we counted out her money.
Notice how sensitive money is. This should be in pink. Let's just stop the tape for a second and catch up. So a little bit of hedging on the time in the bedroom. Right after, we have a temporal bridge. By this point in the evening, slightly vague. A long time, repeated temporal hedge, and multiples around about. Not too bad, but we are early into the statement. Cannot commit to specific times. Between the detective and herself, the bedroom is mentioned 6 times. Madeline is mentioned 10, which is far more than when she was being interviewed by other detectives who weren't feeding her the name. We already see deception from the baseline that we established. So we have sensitivity around the clothes and around the money. And we have problems around the timeline that the three of them were spending in the bedroom.
I can't remember if she had finished with all of her bedtime routine.
Okay, so she introduces the bedtime routine, but she can't remember that. Notice how she can remember the food and started to attempt ingratiation with that, and the detectives were smart enough to allow that to happen to encourage openness. Let's just go back to Veriscope and finish up where we were. So, the clothing interrogation. At this point, this is important, at this point in time, do you recall what Madeline was wearing? Eye, fractured, don't know. When we see 3 or 4 of these eyes, it's even worse. But here we still have the pattern beginning, and we have a fractured sentence. So I think that brings us to the end of part 1. I think from the length of the interview, this is going to be a 3 or 4 part analysis, because this is really all we've done so far is establish the baseline and establish a few sensitivities, but the interview's only just getting started. So I'll again, apologies for the late delivery of this, but I will endeavour to produce part 2 for you for tomorrow. Okay, have a lovely evening.